Hi guys! Today in this video I'm going to give you some improvement tips on how to improve your Erdnase color change and perform it better. Now, one of the biggest problems I've seen so far is that people tend to push the card out either a lot and forward very visibly, or just forward very visibly, and then they like to push it back very visibly right before the change is done. And when the spectators see that, at that point it's not magical anymore because they know something happened, something sneaky happened. If not, they would already figure out how that works because they know that the card being pushed forward may imply this kind of motion. Now, if I were to try and imitate that in a performance, then it would look something like this. And as you can see, that's not very pretty at all as a change because you can clearly see something sneaky is going on. And so you ideally want your Erdnase color change to look something like this. Okay? And if you've seen right there, that pushing out motion is almost invisible. And the reason is I only push out around that much. Now, a lot of times people are not able to achieve the pulling out motion with only this much because of the way they pull back. Let me first start off with how I pull, or rather push forward, because I think this is really important. Some people like to use their pinky finger as they turn their hand over to push the card forward. And the reason I don't use this method, instead I like to just use the bottom of my fingers right here where the bones pop out. I like to push with that part because sometimes this action of covering, or rather turning your hand over, doesn't really cover the pushing forward motion sometimes, especially from the side. It's not really well covered, and you don't want that to be seen. That's one of the reasons why I don't use this. Now, let me start off with how I do it. I'm not going to go through the full tutorial, I'm just going to give you a brief overview of how it works for me. Now, instead of having the hand flat down like this and pushing it forward, I like to kind of tilt the hand forward a bit so the back of my hand does not touch the back of the card. So like this. Now this is a little exaggerated, normally it would be like this much, so it barely lifts up. But as you can see, only the front part of my hand right here, right below the fingers, touch the cards. And I'm going to, as I push forward, I'm going to push back a little bit with my left hand. So as you can see, instead of me just simply doing this, I'll do something like this. So that my hand moves back if I exaggerate it like this. So my right hand moves forward, my left hand moves back. Now this really reduces the amount of distance your right hand has to push forward, and so that makes your push out very much invisible almost, because it's so minimal. Now first you're going to have to practice a little bit with a bigger space, but once you get the hang of it, you'll only be able to do it with just this much. So once you push out, now from this point on, a lot of times people are not able to get this pull out with only this small space because they take your entire hand, they put it flat down, and they try to push it back. As you can see, that's not very good. It doesn't really push back. Now the reason I'm able to do it is because I do this. As you can see, I do a little tilting motion up and down. First, I tilt it downwards, so this part of the hand pushes forward. And as I pull back, I tilt this hand up back, so only the bottom part of my hand right here touches the cards, and I can easily pull the card back. And that is very important to make this work. And so if I do this in slow motion, it would look something like this. Just like that. And then I can simply come over and then do this. Now, so that is the very, I think, one of the most important things for the Erdnase color change if you want to make it invisible. Now, the other thing about the pushing back motion, you want to do this not here, not when the card, when your hand is holding onto the card, but rather when your hand comes over and your fingers are covering it, that's when you push it back in. And that is one of the biggest mistakes that people do. As soon as they push the card back, they push it right back in, and then they do the change. You must push forward, push the card right back on, and then use your index finger to retract the card back. And so that's it. Those are the most important things I think that should be addressed when performing the Erdnase color change to make it better for you. One more time, performance speed, it will look something like this. And it looks really pretty like this because you see almost no motion in the entire hand as it moves forward, back and forth, and in the cards. And so I hope this was helpful. And as I've said before many times in my past tutorials, you have to practice in order to get this. And so don't just come back and say, hey, it's not working, because without practice, it's not going to work. So you have to try many times, and you have to keep that in mind. So I guess I'll see you guys next time.